All right, what's up, guys? Today we got a little different video. My U-joints on my truck are kind of making some noises. I got underneath there and realized that one of the boots are ripped and it's just making a lot of popping and you know, slapping noises. So that's a telltale sign of a blown U-joint. I'm not going to replace them all. I'm just going to replace the one. All the rest actually look really good condition. So let's run to AutoZone and get this part. They got one in stock for 20 bucks. So here we go. Made it to AutoZone. The drive shaft didn't fall out. Tried to get video of the noise. It would work, wouldn't work, whatever. But all right, we're here. Let's get the part we need. We're back. We got the U-joint, so I'm gonna let this cool off for a second. I'm gonna chalk the wheels and get all my tools together and get started. All right, guys, so we're under here, we're looking at our U-joint. This U-joint here is what the actual problem is. I don't know if you guys can see too well, but up in here, this boot of the U-joint where the bearing is that keeps all the dust and everything out is actually ripped. That's what's causing our noise and our problem. These U-joints shouldn't have any play in them. So if you just stick this in here, you see how this moves? I mean, it's not crazy, but this little amount of play is what's causing our problem. These things should be rock solid. You can just take a pry bar and check those. Obviously look for your boots. But it's also really important, these shafts, these drive shafts are all balanced from the factory. So it's really important that we put these back the exact way they came out. So what I'm gonna do is just kind of mark with some paint marker. So that'll line up with that. And we'll just mark this flange here, this ear. You know, just so we know where these go. This will bolt on along that line. This will bolt on along that. We'll even mark this down here. But like I said, it's really important because these things are actually balanced and we want them back the exact way we take them off. Otherwise you can have vibration and mess up stuff in your transfer case or your rear differential, stuff like that. So I put the truck in neutral just so you can get a better look of actually how bad this U-joint is. So now that the truck is in neutral, you can kind of see how much movement is in there. You can hear this slapping. When it goes into gear, you'll hear a slap. And this is the problem. This should be rock solid. We're at the back of the truck. This is the rear U-joint. Once again, we're just gonna do the same thing. We're just gonna mark these, mark the shaft and the ear brackets where they're mounted. You know, we're just gonna remember where these lines are so we can put them back in the correct spot. I have the truck completely chalked. The front wheels are chalked. I have the back end up about an inch and it's in neutral. That way I could spin it and get to all the bolts that I need to undo. We're gonna break these ones loose first. We're gonna drop this shaft down and then we're gonna move back up to the front and we're gonna take the front off. I'm gonna let these soak in PB. That way, hopefully they'll break loose easier. we let this PB sit for a while. I got my 14mm wrench, I got my 1/2 inch impact, and I have a wobble extension. It lets me have this different angle on it. So let's see if this works, and hopefully it does. All right, now don't whack these. You don't ever want to hit the drive shaft, so just hit the ears. All right, we're loose. We'll let that rest right there, and we'll go take the rest off. We got the rear held up by a jack stand. Now we're going to take these 2 bolts down from our carrier bearing. I'm really just going to break them loose here. I don't actually want to take them completely out because I still want to get the front U-joint mount ones off first, but I want to get these broke loose. We're up at the front again. Now, the bolt on the back is actually not a 14 like the rear ones. It's actually a 17. So we're going to still use our wobble extension and our 14, and then now we're going to use a 17 to hold the rear bolt. What I'm going to do is I'm going to remove these last 2 bolts here, and then I'll drop it and slide it off of those. We got the drive shaft off. We got it into the garage. The next step here is we're going to be removing these clips. These clips are pretty self-explanatory. You just kind of grab them here and hopefully they come off. If not, you can take a flathead, which I may have to do. Okay. So we'll see if we can punch that one out. All right. We knocked it loose. And one's out. So we'll just repeat that process on every single one. Now this one has a Zerk on it. Zerk fitting, so we're gonna have to remove that one. I'm pretty sure we're gonna have to remove it first. Let's give it a try. No, didn't. It actually came out pretty easily. And there we are. Got all our clips out. Now it's time to pop these out. I'm actually gonna remove the Zerk fitting first. Now, we're either gonna use my press or we can use the hammer method on this. I do have a press, but I feel like it's just gonna be easier to do the hammer method considering that my press, I have to like rig it up and have this sitting when I could realistically just take this entire drive shaft to my vise and use the hammer method. All right guys, I want you to pay attention how I have this in this vise. It is not on the drive shaft. I'm on these ears here, and we're going to be pushing this part, these bearings out. Do not clamp on this. Treat this like gold. You cannot destroy this. This is a lot of money compared to a $20 to $50, depending on what you get, U-joint. And we're gonna look for a socket, okay? A socket that is just smaller than the actual bearing here. That's pretty good. Basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna set this socket right in here and we're just gonna hammer it out. Whoop. Guess we should make sure that this is tight. All right, let's try it again. Let's try it a different way. It wants to slip through, so basically I just move the vise so the bottom could stick out, and we're beating on these ears. Once again, not that. And it doesn't want to move one bit. Guys, we might be using the press on this. All right, guys, it comes down to it. We're gonna use the press. We don't want to sit here and beat on this thing all day. So this is my wonky rig we kind of got set up here. I want it to be as level as possible. So I used my tinder, my kindling bucket for my wood burner, and this old coffee table that I just keep in here that is just actually pretty handy. We put a socket underneath that is big enough for the actual bearing to get pressed out into, and then we use the small socket up top. And I use this just to kind of keep it from moving, give some added support. So basically we're just gonna use the press that bearing out on the one side, flip it over, do the same thing on the other side. And there we go. Grab our absurdly huge channel locks, and these should be come right off. Plenty of room, so we'll use a smaller socket this time, and press this one out. And there we have it. This is actually our bad one, and if you look at it, all of the bearings have fallen out. There are no bearings left. If you look at these, plenty of bearings, plenty of grease. This here was our culprit. Look how dry that is, if you guys can see it, and there's no bearings in it. So this was just flopping around on here. Our seals are destroyed. Look at all this. This is terrible. So that was our culprit right there. We got the U-joint out. Now it's very important that we clean all inside of this track where the C-clip sits. We're gonna do this to all of them. Also, you wanna check for burrs. You wanna clean all this out, and then you wanna check for burrs. Here's kind of a little burr here and a burr there. All right, so we're just gonna take a little file them burrs down. All right, so we're getting ready to press in the bearing here. And another thing that I forgot to mention, what you guys should do, is I just take a piece of 1000 grit, or you can actually use a Scotch-Brite pad, like nothing too crazy, just real fine sandpaper or Scotch-Brite, and basically just clean them holes out. So we're ready to press these in. We're just gonna take the actual bearing off of the U-joint. We're gonna get it lined up just like that, and then we're just gonna press it on in. Good. We don't want to get it fully pressed in yet. We're going to take off the other cap. Now, if these bearings fall, these needle bearings, if these fall down, you just pick them up with a pick or something and just push them up against the sidewall, and they will set right back into how they should be. Oh, it should slip right in. There we go. All right, it slips right in. That's all set. And we're going to take our other side right on top. Once again, make sure all them needles are up in the correct position. And then we'll press this side in. Now we're just going to press this down just enough to get the C-clip in. I don't know if you guys can see, but just enough to get that C-clip in. So we're not going to go too much. We're going to stop and we're going to see where we're at. That looks perfect. We will be able to get our C-clip in on that. Then we'll flip it over and we're going to do the same on this side. Use our socket again, and we're going to press it down just so we can get that C-clip in, and we're good to go. All right, we got the C-clip in that side, and there we go. All right, it's in. So these ball joints actually, or excuse me, these U-joints do tighten up on you like that. You actually hit these with a hammer to set them. You hit the ears and it'll loosen them right up. But we're gonna keep them tight right now, and we'll do that at the end. It's just easier to work with. So now we're gonna set the old rig back up and do the same for the rest of the drive. All right, now guys, remember the marks we made. When we put these back in, we want to make sure we line our marks up. See how you just tap it and they move? It's called setting the U-joints. That one's still a little bit tough. Let's hit it on this side. Nice and free. See how that works? Our new U-joint actually came with a Zerk fitting that I've never used this exact type of Zerk fitting. Zerk fitting is your grease fitting, just in case some people didn't know that. I do have attachment that I'm assuming will grease it. We'll find out. So we'll start off real quick by just greasing the old ones. And here's a trick that if some of you guys don't know, sometimes these get like stuck, these little balls on your Zerk fittings, your grease fittings. Just take a little pick and just push them in and it'll free it up. And you want to wipe these all clean before you grease them. You don't just want to grease with like just a bunch of nasty dirt on it. So you just want to grease these until it comes out. There we go. See some of the grease popping out. And that's it. You don't want to go too crazy with it. You just want it to start coming out. Wipe all your excess grease off so it's not flying around. With this one, like I said, I'm not sure if this is gonna work, and it may be a disaster. But I have this here fitting that actually has a Zerk in it. And then it's just a nozzle. So this is usually, I use this to grease like gigantic bearings. So I'm gonna try put that right there and hopefully it works. There we go. It worked out. We are all set to install this. Back under the truck. We're getting ready to put the actual drive shaft back in. And real quick, just take a wire brush and wire brush all these flanges off. Just make sure there's no rust or anything big that's going to get in the way. You're going to need some blue Loctite. I guess you could use red, but I sure as hell wouldn't suggest it, but just some sort of thread locker. I got the specs. It's 65 pounds for both flanges and 27 for the carrier. All right, guys, so my GoPro died, so I got my cell phone. Basically, I just finished up. I just went to torque spec. I just put, it was 65 pounds per flange, and then 27 pounds for the carrier bearing. And I don't know if you can see, but I basically just, after I torqued them to spec, I just put a little red paint marker on them, so I'd come down and check them later, make sure they're not backing out or anything. But yeah, we're pretty much done. I did carrier bearing here. You can see the red mark. Those are all torqued to spec. And same with the front transfer case flange too. And yeah, we're all set. I'm on a time crunch, so I got to get done. I got to clean up and head to my buddy's house. I got to help him build a trailer real quick. So yeah, hope you guys found this helpful and enjoy it, and peace.